Hi, students. Can you see me? Hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're recording to the cloud. All these lectures will be recorded and accessible to you through Canvas on the cloud. If you miss a lecture or you want to review something, that's your best bet. And let me see if I can expand the screen here for you without losing you. How's that? Full screen? Perfect. Okay, let's jump in. Others will be joining us. The class enrollment's limited to 50. We have 50 enrolled as a wait list, as there is every semester. So welcome to Pharmacology and Pharmaceutical Marketing. I'm Professor David Sigarnik. And I'm assistant professor in the Department of Pharmacology, Physiology, and Neuroscience. And I'll tell you a little about myself, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves briefly. We have 50 students, but I do think it's important that you tell us your name, your course of study, what you hope to achieve by taking this course, and where you're headed afterwards. And so, as I mentioned, I'm a professor in the Department of Pharmacology, Physiology, and Neuroscience. I've been teaching this course for about a dozen years. I used to teach it in person, but I'm too far away now. I live too far from the campus to other than remote. But there's a lot of interest because it's unique. It's nothing like this taught at the graduate school, at the medical school. I'm also Chief Medical Officer and Executive Vice President at a Medivoc, now part of Inizio, a global, very large medical education company that supports medical education for healthcare professionals, physicians mostly around the world, funded by the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. I also run my own consulting firm called Teravation, LLC. I've been in this kind of business, medical education, medical advertising, and healthcare PR for many years. Post my early faculty position at the NYU School of Medicine, where I did my training in pharmacology, neuropharmacology postdoc, and joined the faculty there for a number of years before I made the move to the medical education business. And so that's enough about me. I'm going to just ask everybody to go around the virtual room here. I'll just go in order of what I see here. Just tell us again your name, your reason for taking the course, your current course of study, and what you are heading towards professionally. Yesenia?
Hi, sorry, my name is Michelle. I have to change the name on the Zoom. So my name is Michelle Magaña Mendoza, and I'm going into my second year into the Rutgers Master's program as a medical scholar. I'm interested in taking this course because I've been involved in clinical research for about 5 years as a coordinator and as a research associate. And I'm interested in learning a bit more about the marketing aspect of pharmaceuticals. So like after, a drug gets pushed, from phases 1 through 4, like what happens after that. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
Terrific, thank you. Could you guys get on screen when you speak? If you're uncomfortable, okay. You don't have to, no, not required, but if you could, I'd appreciate it. And I'm just following the order here, no particular. Najma?
Hi, my name is Najma. I am a continuing student of in the medical scholars track. My hopes are to pursue medicine. I am taking this course because I have worked at a pharmacy for a few years, and it's interesting to learn about different aspects of healthcare and what goes into it. So, yeah.
What's your professional objective?
I'm sorry?
What's your professional objective? Where you want to go from here?
Oh, medical school.
Terrific.
Yes.
Okay, L01.
Hello. My name is L01. I'm driving right now, if that's okay. Should I turn on my camera?
No, don't. It's okay.
Okay. I just had to pick my son up from school, but yes, I'm a foreign trained dentist. This is my second semester in the master's, and I work as a dental assistant instructor, of which I give lectures on pharmacology. So I would like to know, I'm taking the course because I would like to know all aspects of pharmacology. I'm also taking funds of pharmacology this semester. So I just want to see how they relate and intertwine.
Got it. And you said you were already a trained dentist. Are you staying in that profession?
Yes, I applied for the program at Rutgers, the advanced standing program for foreign trained dentists. So I hope to be enrolled by summer next year.
Gotcha. Thank you. Welcome. Tenzin?
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Tenzin. This is my last semester at the master's program. I aim is to go to medical school. I'm taking this class because I took pharmacology class last semester and I really enjoyed the class, so I thought it would be nice for me to learn the marketing end of it.
Got it. And you're heading to medical school, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll mention this again later, but this will be a very practical, hands-on application of pharmacology and physiology. So for those of you who've had general pharmacology, graduate level, you'll see how it's been applied through my cases. For those of you who are taking it currently, and I would advise all of you to at least review the texts that have been assigned, but particularly those who have not yet had pharmacology, you might struggle if you don't read those texts beforehand. Not to sweat over them, just review them so you have the basic concepts of the mechanisms of action, the PK, the PD, because we're just going to go right into application for each of these lectures and how it was applied. So I don't want you to feel lost or struggle. Okay, and some of you needed permission to get into the course because you didn't have the prerequisites. So I'd appreciate it if you actually did review those chapters so you're up to speed. Jasmine?
Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm on the dental scholar track, and I'm taking this course because I took Funds of Farm my first semester here. So I just thought it would be pretty interesting to see the marketing aspect as well.
And you're headed where?
I'm pre-dental, so dental school.
Terrific. Thank you. How about, let's see, Kathana?
Hi, my name is Kirthana. This is actually my first semester here at the master's program under the pre-dental track. So my aim is to eventually get into dental school. I just really like the business aspect of science and like how they're like marketed, like how just like drugs and like the different medical devices, just everything like on the marketing aspect. I am like business side of science I'm very interested in. I thought this would like help me understand like a little bit more about how it's like presented in the real world and how it's marketed, so real people could like buy these drugs, that because these are drugs, these are stuff that like real people use on a daily basis. So I definitely wanted to learn a little bit more about that.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's helpful for me to understand your interests so I can tier the course accordingly. Carmen?
Hi, my name is Carmen. This is my last semesters in the master's program, and I hopefully am going to be going to dental school in the following fall. I really just thought this class sounded interesting, especially because we rarely learn about what happens after all of our knowledge is put into one thing, and the business aspect of it kind of falls off. So I really wanted to just grow my knowledge in that, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity.
Okay. Let's see, Kirthana?
I just went.
You just went, sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, this comes up it doesn't follow any logical order here, so I apologize. So Simran?
Hi, good evening, Dr. Segarnik. My name is Simran Casey. I belong from the country of Himalayas. I'm actually a foreign trained dentist myself, and I am in MBS program, Master of Biomedical Sciences, Dental Scholar track. I'm in first semesters now. So yeah, I was really looking forward to this course. I learned it from my brother, who is currently in a pharmaceutical company. So I'm quite interested in this program. Thank you, Dr. Segarnik, for letting me in.
Sure. So where does your brother work?
At Merck.
I know it well. Okay. What department's in it?
Sorry,
What department?
I actually don't know very well about his department, but he's in R&D. Yeah, he's in R&D.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. Meghana, did I call on you already?
No, you didn't. Hi, I'm Meghna. I'm a first year in the medical scholars program. I plan to go to medical school in the future. I'm taking this course because I plan to do like a concentration in pharmacology with my program. And then I'm also taking fundamentals of pharmacology right now. So I thought it'd be a good course to take alongside
And where are you headed?
medical school.
Got it. Thank you. Welcome. Let's see. Michaela? You're on mute.
Hi, my name is Michaela. I'm in the medical scholars track. I have plans to go to medical school, and I actually heard from a few students that this course was pretty interesting. So I wanted to know more about the farm industry and how it applies to the medical field.
Uh-huh. Okay. Got it. Let's see. Timothy?
There we go. My name is Timothy. I'm a second year, third semester here as a medical scholar. I've also took pharmacology last year, and I heard from advisors that it was a good course in order to understand more of the business aspect of pharmacology. And I figured it'd be something good to like get myself more well versed in like what's to come. And end goal for myself is to be in medical school and become a doctor.
Gotcha. Thank you, Tim. Let's see. Salam?
Hi, my name is Salam, and I am in the master's program as a medical scholar. And I am currently taking the pharmacological course, and I thought this might be a good course to take it along with my other course. And also I like to learn more about the practical side of pharmacology.
And you're heading where?
Medical school.
Okay. Let's see. Carmen?
I went already.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I would just ask you guys just to go ahead and jump in, but you probably step all over each other worse than I am. Kirthana?
I already went.
I apologize.
You're fine.
Xian?
Hi, my name is Cheyenne. I'm on the dental scholars track of the master's program, so I hope to go to dental school. I'm taking this course because I also took the fundamentals of pharmacology course, and I wanted to learn more about the marketing aspect of pharmaceuticals and more about pharmacology.
Okay, terrific. Roshana?
Hi, my name is Rashana. I'm a medical scholar. My goal is medical school, and I decided to take this course because I also took fundamentals of pharmacology and I really enjoyed it. So I just wanted to learn the marketing aspect to it.
Okay. Sining?
Hi, my name is Ning, and I go by Albert. I'm a second year master student. And yeah.
On screen.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Can you all go on screen?
Oh, yeah, sure. And I'm a medical scholar track, and I'm really interested in pharmacology, and I always see the pharmaceutical marketing, industry as an alternative choice if I were not able to get into medical school. So that's why I'm taking this class.
Gotcha. Okay, understood. Isosa?
Hi, my name's Esosa, and I'm a second year master's student on the medical track, hoping to go to medical school. And I decided to take this class because I had taken fundamentals of pharmacology, and some students recommended this class.
And you're headed into what?
Medical school.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Welcome. Nithya?
Hi everyone, I'm Nithya. I'm on the dental scholars track. I'm currently in my last semester. The reason why I want to take this course was because I've taken Funds of Pharm and topics in pharm. I wanted to learn more about the marketing side. So I'm applying to dental school right now. So yeah.
Okay, welcome. Let's see. Jason?
Hi, my name's Jason. I'm a med scholar. My goal is to get into medical school. I took this course because I wanted to see pretty much how a drug hits the market, what the process is, and the competition, because there's more than one manufacturer for even one drug. Also, this is after I had applied for the course, but I watched that series on Netflix called Painkiller, and as a Puerto Rican, it hit hard that they tested it out in PR before it hit the market, and that kind of like drove me to want to realize how they managed to do that and all that type of stuff. So
Yeah, but we will talk about ethics in this course quite a bit. We won't talk that much about the drug clinical research and development phase 1, 2, 3. It'll come up, but there are different courses for that. This is going to be more about the application of pharmacology to drug differentiation and marketing. But it will come up. Leslie, I'm sorry, did we reach you yet? You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I didn't get reached yet. Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie. I'm in my second year of the master's program as well. I am a dental scholars track student, and I also took Funds of Pharm last year. I just wanted to, I've heard that this is an interesting course, and I wanted to know about like the marketing aspect as well as everyone else.
Terrific. Welcome. Let's see. Anna?
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm also in my last semester as a medical scholar. I'm currently in the process of applying to medical school to hopefully start next semester. And I'm taking this course because I took topics in pharm and funds of pharm. So I just wanted to like further my knowledge about the pharmacology industry.
Okay. Omar?
Hi, I'm Omar. I'm on the medical scholars track, hopefully trying to get into medical school. I took this class because I thought it was I thought it was going to be a really interesting class compared to the other classes offered. I really wanted to see, how drug marketing happens, how it works, how everything is tested. I thought it would be a great class to take and see how it all works out, especially with how we see in the news with drug trials and everything. I wanted to learn its applicability and everything.
And you said you're heading to medical school?
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Tessa?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tessa. I'm also a medical scholar hoping to go to medical school. And I took this course because I really enjoyed previous pharmacology classes and just wanted to see, the practical applications of everything we've learned.
Okay, welcome. Let's see. Rory?
Hi, my name is Rory Shields. I'm in my third semester of the graduate program, dental scholar. And I'm taking the course because I wanted to see more about how the marketing process goes for specific drugs when there's multiple manufacturers and there's different areas on the globe that need that drug than others. How come it's marketed towards and geared towards certain humans as opposed to others? That's very important as to how a drug becomes a billion-dollar drug or multi-billion-dollar drug is the marketing scheme of it. I think that plays the huger role than the PK or the PD, because most laymen don't know anything about pharmacology and they're going off of what they see or what they hear. So this class was very important in me learning about that.
I think that will certainly come up more than once. Let's see. Rishana, have you gone yet?
Yes, I have.
Let's see who else. Abby.
Hi, for some reason my camera won't turn on. But I'm in my last semester as a medical scholar. Over the summer I decided I didn't want to pursue medical school anymore. So now I'm kind of interested in the consulting space as well as just kind of finding out what else is out there that I can use my degree with. And so that was kind of one of the reasons I took this class.
Okay, yeah, this will give you a picture of what has become a very big business.
Yeah.
Career option. We'll talk about that tonight a bit. Brian?
Hi, I'm Brian. I am a second year on the medical scholars track, hopefully going to medical school. The reason I picked this course in particular is because something that has really piqued my interest in the past few years has been addiction medicine. So I really wanted to take this course to kind of understand, first of all, how drugs are marketed and put out there in the first place, especially when we're talking about people getting addicted. Oxycontin in particular was something that, like Jason mentioned, really caught my interest. As addiction is something that ran in my family, I thought it was like personal and more close to home. But I'm really excited just to kind of learn more about what this marketing process is, because this is how it can start and it can be prevented, or yeah, so very excited.
Okay, I don't think I have a lecture on opioids per se, but this issue will come up that you described. Let's see. Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm in my third semester on the dental scholars track, so hopefully going to attend dental school. And I decided to take this class because I've taken pharmacology before, and then I've also taken some marketing classes previously. And so I think it's kind of cool now to learn about marketing in science specifically, and just how farm is just a huge industry, and I just want to know more about it.
All right, definitely is cool. I would agree with that. Let's see. Allison?
Hi, my name is Allison. I'm on my third semester on the medical track. And I took this course because one of my parents works in the pharmaceutical industry, so I thought this would be an interesting course to take from the educational side of it.
What company?
AbbVie.
One of my big clients. Yeah. Terrific. Let's see. There's a lot of folks here that haven't. Can you just sort of jumping in rather than me calling? It's difficult for me to follow. So just jump in, whoever hasn't spoken yet.
I can go.
go.
Oh, Jenna, if you want to go ahead, girl. It's up to you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jana Lejean. I am currently in my third semester of the medical scholars track, pursuing medical school. The reason why I'm taking this class right now, I just want to expand my knowledge on the farm marketing side. I've also seen the different topics that we'll be focusing on, like type 2 diabetes and cervical cancer. So those are things I'm very interested in.
Excellent. Thank you, Janet.
Welcome.
Go ahead, somebody else.
Go next, if that's all right. So my name is Ashley. I currently am pursuing my master's in biomedical research with a concentration in pharmacological sciences. I work full-time as a clinical project coordinator, but my end goal is to be involved in pharmaceutical research at some point. So that's pretty much why I'm taking this course. I think learning the marketing aspect of things would be a good thing to know.
So you want to work in clinical research and development in a pharmaceutical company?
Yeah, I currently work at it's like a dermatology biotech company in Parsippany. It's called Canfield. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Got it. Thanks. Welcome, Ashley. Next.
I can go next. My name is Ansia Khan. This is my first semester on the dental scholars track. So the aim is to pursue dental school. I'm really interested in taking this course because I actually graduated undergrad with a business background. So I took other marketing courses. So I'm really interested to hear healthcare marketing and drug marketing specifically. So I'm excited to be here.
You're in the right place. Next, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Reynolds, and I'm on the dental scholars track here at Rutgers, as many other people are also. I'm very interested in taking this course because I did take Funds of Pharm my first semester here. This is my last semester now, and I'm interested in seeing the real life application of science. Many of the courses are just strictly textbook, and you don't get to see how it applies to real life. So that's a nice change, and I'm very interested in seeing.
And where did you say you were headed?
Dental school.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, my name is Zainab. I'm a medical scholars student with a pharm concentration, and I'm taking this class because I like the application aspect of it to real life situations, and I thought it would be a good bridge before medical school.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Chen Chen, and I'm the actually fourth year of the PhD student in Rutgers. And I have like some background information about the pharmaceutical and back up the functional mechanism behind this one. And I really interesting about like to bridge how to the clinical use of this pharmaceutical and the marketing aspect of it. So I choose this class.
And where are you headed?
Maybe in industry.
Okay, bunch of people interested in industry. Got it. Okay, thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Elisa, and I'm a first semester student on the dental scholars track. And I'm taking this course because I actually never took a marketing course before in like medical or pharmaceutical industry. So I wanted to learn more about it.
Yeah, I started teaching this course a dozen or so years ago because it wasn't available anywhere. And I was shocked by that, especially at Rutgers. New Jersey is the heart and soul of the pharmaceutical industry. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and it didn't exist. So as far as I know, this is a unique offering. Next, please.
Oh, hi, my name is Monarch, and I'm currently on dental scholar track. I'm in my third semester in the master's program, hoping to get into dental school by next fall. And I previously took Funds of Pharm and toxicology, and it would be fun to learn more about marketing and business side of it. So I'm taking this class.
Okay, Mark, welcome.
Thank you.
Next, please.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Ola, and I am my third semester on the dental scholar track. And I'm taking this course because honestly, the title of the course just caught my attention. And when I looked into it, I thought it would be interesting to learn more about the pharmaceutical side of the marketing side of pharmaceuticals. And I was also told by other students who took this course that this was an interesting course.
Excellent. Terrific. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Jongwoo Park. I'm a continuing dental scholar student. This is my last semester. I'm taking this course because I don't have any experience in business related courses before. So I thought it'd be interesting.
Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else?
I can go next, if that's okay. I also can't talk a lot because I'm still sick right now, but my name is Annie. This is my second semester as a dental scholar. And the reason why I chose to take this class was because I'm also enrolled in Funds of Pharm, and I thought it would be interesting to take this along with it.
Okay, great, welcome. Thank you. Has anyone else left?
Hello, my name is Mustafa. I'm a foreign trained dentist, and this is my last semester in the pre-dental scholar. And I always been interested in pharmacology. I took topics in pharmacology. I took funds of pharmacology. I'm interested in this class because to really understand the market side, and like Timothy said, understand why a pharmaceutical drug goes from like $1 billion or like multi-billion-dollar drug to like, and some drugs don't even reach the market even though they're really good. So I just want to know how drugs come to be.
Okay, we were talking a lot about that. Thank you, Mustafa. Yvonne?
Hello, everyone. My name is Yvonne. I am in the third semester dental scholar track. I took this course because it sounded interesting. I used to work in consulting in the orphan oncology drug kind of area, and this sounded a little familiar as everything seems, a little in the program seems intense. So this seemed like an interesting class that'd be on the fun side, hopefully. Yeah.
I think it's fun, but you'll judge for yourself. Thank you.
I hope so.
Alexandra?
Hi, my name's Alexandra. I'm in my third semester. I'm on the medical scholars track, hoping to go to medical school. The reason why I took this course is because one of the roles for my job is dealing with pharmaceutical reps. So I thought that this would be a good class to expand my knowledge on the business side of medicine. And I've also heard good things about the course.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's jump in. So that's enough about me. The overall objectives of this course, once you complete the course, I think you'll have a better understanding of basic pharmacological principles of drug action. We'll talk a lot about that throughout the course, but especially tonight, and how pharmaceutical products use these concepts and principles to differentiate themselves in highly competitive marketplaces. Many of you said, I'm interested in understanding how these drugs are different from each other. Are they different? Is it credible? Is it science-based, or is it just, there's always this relationship, dynamic relationship between science and marketing, art and science, if you will. And every case will be different. And you're going to be the judge of where that line moves and changes and whether you think it's a credible argument. I'll be asking you. And ultimately, I want you to learn to think as strategic medical marketers from these cases that we're going to review together in some detail. They're all my cases. The dates are not, they're not correct. It's from the last semester, but you know the dates. It's every Tuesday at 7 o'clock for about 8 weeks. And so, this is the agenda and the syllabus that I'm sure you've seen. You all have access, hopefully, to Canvas. All of these lectures, all the slides are posted on Canvas for the entire semester. I post some announcements occasionally. I'll post the final exam there for you to complete and send back to me at the end of the semester. And each one of these cases were chosen to reinforce and emphasize a different take-home message, a different point. They're all older cases, and let me emphasize that's by design. I still work in this field. I still do this kind of work as chief medical officer and head of medical strategy for a global medical education company for the industry. But I can't talk about those cases today because we have confidentiality agreements. But these cases are much older. And so I'm not going to represent that the drugs are the newest versions. I'll tell you where we know they're not, but that's not the point. It's what are they telling us about how these drugs were introduced, how they were differentiated, and ultimately how they were marketed, good, bad, or sad. You know, sometimes we'll talk about things that are maybe a little bit more sketchy, if you will, I think, than others. Some are very firmly science-based, some less so. But that's the nature of the business, and we'll talk about that, and I'll be very candid with you about my feelings, but I'm also very interested in knowing how you feel about it, because that's what's going to stick with you over time, right? You may or may not remember the details of selective COX-2 specific inhibition in inflammatory disorders, Celebrex versus Vioxx, but you're going to remember how they differentiate themselves based upon differential receptor binding. And you're going to hear those concepts, those pharmacological concepts that you studied in Funds of Pharm and other courses. But now I'm going to show you the practical application of how those concepts have been applied. And you'll see how they were or were not persuasive. A couple of things by way of background. Course requirements and grading, I know is important to you. You know, regular attendance, active participation is a third of your grade. So, you know, basically, you're graduate students, you're all adults, you're on your way to become doctors of one kind or another, professionals. You're here because you want to be here. It's more interesting for me, and it will be, I assure you, for you, if you participate actively throughout. 2/3 of your grade will be a single final exam with 10 essay questions. Brief. Each lecture will have one essay question, and there'll be one throwaway, basically. Just tell me your opinion about X, Y, and Z. So, and I'm going to tell you exactly what the take-home message is going to be for each lecture. So I want you to read the texts, especially if you're just taking pharmacology now, because it'll be harder for you to understand what we're talking about. You'll see some of the science is pretty sophisticated and complex. If you haven't heard the concepts before, it may be hard to follow. If you've had pharmacology before, as most of you have, just a brief review, spend a half hour, 40 minutes reviewing the chapter so it's more familiar to you. So 1/3 participation. I expect you to participate actively throughout the semester. You can raise your hand on the chat. You can just jump in and ask a question. You can electronically raise your hand, as some of you have. Try to go on screen as much as you can. I appreciate it. There are bulletin boards on Canvas that I believe I've set up for each lecture, where I will periodically go online and respond to questions or comments. It's a way for you to interact with each other throughout the semester. Every lecture is being recorded, so you'll see those slides, you'll hear our discussion of my lecture. In case you miss a class, you don't have to ask my permission or let me know. If you miss a class, I know you're going to try to watch the recording. It's in your best interest, because it will be one of the questions on the exam. You'll miss it if you don't. So I treat you like the adults you are and deserve to be. There'll be no secrets here. I mentioned Canvas is online. Do you all have access to that? If anybody doesn't, let me know. We'll get to the bottom of that. I mentioned I'll moderate and I'll respond to questions that come up on the posted bulletin board section. That's the textbook. It's available online. Don't buy it. The university has it, and all of you should be able to access it. There are different, editions of the book. I've put down here where I believe those pages reside in different editions of the book, so you can find it more easily, but you'll find it one way or another. So let's get into it, and let's talk about the environment. Let's talk about the medical marketing challenge and how that's manifest in different ways, because some of you on this call aren't planning to go to medical or dental school and have interests in R&D, pharmaceutical marketing, or related disciplines. The way I see it, the universe can be pretty well circumscribed in a Venn diagram with 3 circles. I'm gonna go out of this mode because it's blocking. I don't know if you can see it, but it's blocking my view of the slides, and I'll try to enlarge it. Is that okay? Can you all still see everything?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're going to go into dentistry, clinical medicine, what does your universe typically look like? What are the constituents that you need to be concerned about in your day-to-day practice? Well, your patients, of course, number one. You also need to be concerned about what we call healthcare providers, what you and your colleagues think, know, what you learn. You're also going to be very concerned about the insurance industry and the payers. And your sweet spot, if you will, where you need to really focus is going to be the intersection of those three, where they come together, where patients, payers, and providers have mutual interests, because that's where the action is going to be for you. That's where the key issues are going to be found for the most part. Similarly, some of you, as I have, had careers in academia. There, your universe can be circumscribed by the university and its policies and its governance and its regulations. Your researchers, just like the healthcare providers in the previous slide, your colleagues who you're going to interact with and do research with, symposia and conferences, and then grantors, the areas where you seek funding from, whether it's National Institutes of Health or other funding sources, private and otherwise. And your universe will be defined by the intersection of those three circles. For those of you interested in joining the pharmaceutical industry in one form or another, the medical marketing business, they're in the business to sell drugs, ultimately. They're highly regulated. Your universe is circumscribed by what we like to call the client or the grantor, if it's a CME or independent medical education program, the pharmaceutical company. The faculty experts, the so-called key opinion leaders, the KOLs, those are the top experts who tend to do the primary research, clinical trials with these drugs, write the big peer-reviewed papers, present that data at major medical conferences around the world. And then the target audience. It could be the patient group that you're targeting, or frankly, it could be other healthcare providers who are not key opinion leaders, who are more regional or local experts or doctors. That's the way that universe is circumscribed. So just the purpose of describing this to you is to say, you can always define your universe, and it's important that you do so, and think about where you reside within each of those circles, whether it's academic science, pharmaceutical research and development, or clinical medicine, because it'll help you think about the relative balance and the influence and impact of each of those constituents within your universe. A way of thinking about circumscribing your particular areas of interest. Because at the end of the day, drug development and its marketing has so much information, it's overwhelming. This is just a cartoon to show that it's like herding kittens, essentially. Information comes at you from so many sources, from the media today, digital information, medical societies, publications, key opinion leaders, research studies, etc., that it's very difficult to avoid being lost in a universal confusion and know nothing. Therefore, you need to really be clear about why and where you are in those three circles, so you can be very directed and very focused about the information you need in order to understand the relationship between the three circles in your constituency. In the marketing world, what you find when that doesn't happen is that there's chaos. The mechanism of action is too complicated. Nobody understands it. Nobody's on the same page. You know, I have clients in the pharmaceutical industry, and this is common. They're big multinational companies where they may have their R&D in Paris. They may have their marketing headquarters in the Northeast US. People are dispersed, particularly post-COVID. People are working remotely. It's very difficult to get people on the same page. There are things we can do within this industry to organize that information. Publications is one way. Medical conferences and symposia are another, and there are many ways. So that information is driven and there's consensus, there's ownership of the narrative. Very often you'll hear me talk about the evidence-based narratives that drive the medical marketing insights for any of these products. It takes complex clinical data and pharmacologic mechanism of action and makes it cohesive, makes those narratives flow like chapters in a book. You would put a book down that didn't compel you from chapter to chapter. Similarly, a brand or a drug needs to have a narrative that is compelling. It has to be valid and trusted and accepted. And we'll talk a lot this semester about, is this information valid? Do you trust it? Is it being accepted by the healthcare community? Is it consistent and easily accessed globally and in real time? Information that's not usable, even if it is valid and trusted and accepted, is useless. And is it delivered in a way that you can access it? And is there version control? Because as soon as people see the information you're talking about is no longer up to date, it's no longer useful. I mentioned that information in this industry is collected, analyzed, synthesized, and disseminated through a large number, and this is just a small smattering of the way information is shared today. Increasingly, I'm involved in digital medical science diagnostic information through digital analysis, scientific analysis, the relationship between the two, what that means to each constituent, whether you're a key opinion leader, global, regional, local. The breakdown of the information from a marketing perspective is critical as you hone your message for each individual target audience. One way that that's done is building a scientific platform. You may hear about that within these discussions elsewhere, so that information flows, information in, information out, that it's organized in a way that makes sense to all constituents. And the information inputs, again, can be quite overwhelming. You see here workshops, advisory boards, medical conferences, expert interactions, publications, consensus meetings, clinical data, it goes on, market research. And so I would argue that any product has to be able to tell its story in a specific way. That if there's no narrative, there's no story, then you're not going to own that narrative and you're not going to be happy with the outcome. You're not going to be able to speak with one voice on the output side to your global brand teams within medical affairs or clinical research and development, publication companies that just focus on publications, healthcare PR firms, MedCom, creative agencies that focus on consumers, etc. These are just a smattering of the categories of companies like mine that do this kind of work around the world on behalf of the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. And that the story that has to be told, I would argue, has to start with the unmet need. Why are we here? Why should we care? Something's not working. We wouldn't be spending this kind of time and money on building a scientific narrative based upon clinical evidence. Once you've established the unmet need, the next pillar of the narrative tends to be, or must be, what are you bringing to the table that's different? The pharmacokinetic, the pharmacodynamic, the toxicology story. What is it about this drug? Are you delivering it in a new way? Are you making it oral when it was only IV or IM before? Is it a novel mechanism of action? I work in immuno-oncology and gene therapy today, not in the cases we're going to talk about, but the work that I touch today would be science fiction from when I was a graduate student, but it has to have a key differentiation. There's some reason that it's addressing a novel unmet need. The third pillar is the clinical promise. I would say that's the efficacy and safety and tolerability data from phase 2 proof of concept or phase 3 randomized controlled clinical trials. What's the data tell us? Does it pay off? Does it address the unmet need based upon its unique mechanism from an efficacy, safety, and tolerability perspective? And then finally, so what? How is it going to change the nature of clinical medicine tomorrow? What's it going to mean for patients, for payers, for healthcare providers, for pharmacoeconomics and outcomes, for quality of life? from a patient-reported outcome perspective and from real-world evidence, RWE. These are the kinds of considerations that drugs have to address today. It's not enough to just say the drug is safe and effective. A pharmaceutical company has to do studies one way or another that demonstrate the drug also will make a difference in clinical practice, that it's going to improve patients' lives, that it's safe, efficacious, will improve quality of life, reduce burden of disease, and hopefully is cost effective in the ideal world. So that's the narrative. And so every one of these cases, and again, each of these lectures are my case, and I'll tell you what side of the fence I sat on for each of these as we go through these over the next several months. But they're all based upon building a narrative, a story. Remember, humans learned through storytelling. The Bible was essentially a non-written story for a millennia until it was written down. But it was remembered essentially because the story was interesting, the story was compelling. Same thing here. Humans remember stories. If a drug doesn't have a narrative, it doesn't have a story, it won't be impactful from a marketing perspective. So what I like to say is that you've been living in a dream world, as Neo learned in The Matrix, one of my favorite movies. I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one who has to walk through it, as Morpheus told him in the film The Matrix. I'm saying to you, I'm going to take you down this rabbit hole, and you could take the green pill or the red pill and decide which way you want to go. But you're going to learn some things candidly that you've never seen before. And I'm going to give you a behind the scenes view of how medical marketing really works in an unabridged version through a series of cases. So let me pause there as background and introduction, as context for the rest of this course before we jump into tonight's pharmacology and clinical lesson on PDE5 inhibitors and erectile dysfunction. So students, let me pause and see if there are any questions, comments. Anything? Is this clear so far?
I just had a question about the final, actually.
Yeah.
How will it be administered? Just that way I know how to study down the road.
Good question. So I'm just going to post it on Canvas. It'll be 10 essay questions. Type it in and send it back to me by email. I don't really care or need, you can do open book, you can do closed book. This is for you, your graduate students. We'll have a session like this and I'll proctor it in case there are any general questions. Most students don't even bother. They just take the test and send it to me the next day. If you need more time, don't worry about it. Take the time you need within a couple of days, okay? Unless you have a real problem. And we all have complicated lives, I get it. So I would expect the overwhelming majority to take the test and hand it in that evening. If you need another day or two, don't worry about it. If you have extenuating circumstances, you're ill, something happened to you or your family, just let me know. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, these are robust, complex cases. I'm interested in you understanding your comprehension of the key takeaways. This is going to be a lot less rote memorization and much more conceptual understanding, because that's what's going to stay with you and your doctors and dentists and pharmaceutical executives and healthcare professionals, not the DHODH pathway that you might recall from the discussion of immunomodulation. Does that make sense to you all? Because you've got enough stress. You don't. This is an elective course. You don't need to sweat this one. Just as far as I'm concerned, everybody starts with an A, and you've got to unearn it to not get an A in this course. Now, you're not all going to get an A. Now, I've had some issues with that in the past. You will not all get an A. So let me just say that right now. But most of you should. So just pay attention. Listen to what I say. I'm going to tell you this is the home run slide in this lecture, and you're going to do fine. Does that
Great.
make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense. Thank you.
Other questions? With regard to reducing yourself after class, is that, Simone, did you not have a chance to introduce yourself earlier?
No, unfortunately, I was late.
Okay, just go ahead and do it right now. We got plenty of time.
Hi everybody. My name is Simone. I'm applying to medical school this year, and I'm hoping to learn in this class the mechanism for drugs, being that we prescribe and take them all day, every day.
Okay, terrific. You can change the name to what you want to be called. I don't know how to do that technically myself, so yeah, if you know how to do it, so it doesn't matter. It's up to you.
Okay.
How does comparison happen between the drugs before it's marketed? It's an interesting question. If both the companies are working the same drug and not publishing it, what happens? So we'll get into this on a case-by-case basis, Simran, but basically, companies have to be very careful. It's called pre-approval marketing. They really can't, by FDA's guidance, and they'll come down hard with major penalties, financial and otherwise. You can't really market a drug before it's approved. If you've got comparative data that you've published, you can publish it in peer-reviewed journals. That's okay, but you can't give it to a sales rep. You can't put it into a visual aid. You can't do an advertisement. You can present it at a conference. So there are some gray areas around, I wouldn't call it marketing, but I call it information amplification. But many times you'll find that, and the FDA does not require a drug to be approved against its comparator. For the most part, it isn't done because you have to now publish. When you do a study, you've got to publish results, good, bad, or sad, whether it's a positive or negative finding. So you got to be careful that you don't want to ask questions you may not want a public answer to. So FDA only requires 2 positive efficacy trials with good safety against placebo. Now, sometimes that's unethical in oncology or other areas, so they do comparative, and sometimes they do comparative trials, but it's not common. So most of the time in our industry, you'll see drugs are studied against placebo, if possible. And pre-approval, that comparison can only be done in publications, peer-reviewed academic style publications or medical conferences for the most part. If both the companies are working the same drug, they wouldn't be, and not publishing it. I'm not sure I understand that. But companies don't work on the same drug unless they're working to compare a new drug against the same older standard of care. That could happen. Did that answer your question, Simran?
Yes, Dr. Segarnik, that's very interesting. Thank you for answering.
And again, students, please jump in anytime. You know, there's always enough time. The most interesting part of these lectures have always been the discussions. I'm going to go pretty quickly through every one of my lectures is going to focus on the unmet need, what is the problem, the disease state area, so you have some background, the pharmacology, the key points of differentiation, and how it was applied. Every one of these lectures will follow that same rubric. Unmet need, physiology, pathophysiology, disease state, pharmacology, comparative pharmacology, and how that was applied. And I'll tell you where I came down on all of that. If a company, Rory asks, has a patent on a drug, but doesn't start marketing the drug, can another company get an alternative patent and start marketing the first drug without litigation? So patents have a lifetime. What is it today? I don't know. It's less than 20 years. I think it's 18 years or something like that. But that counts from day one, as soon as they start the research, not when they start to market it. So if it takes them 10 years to market to get the drug approved through phase preclinical to phase 1, 2, 3 to FDA review, they only have maybe. Can somebody look up while we're talking how long is the patent life for a pharmaceutical? I thought it was used to be 16 or 17 years. I think it's a little bit longer now. Now, they can apply for modifications of the patents, and we have a lecture on that. The proton pump inhibitor awards, we'll talk about my work with the launch of AstraZeneca's agents. 20 years, okay, 20 years. So you can lose 10 years in just your patent time starts from the day you've applied for the patent. So no, a company cannot infringe your patent during development. You can have a related compound in the same category, like we're going to talk tonight. PDE5 inhibitors are, is it Coke versus Pepsi? Are they all the same, or are they really fundamentally different? They haven't infringed on each other's patents because chemically they're different compounds. They're within the same category, phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors, but they're different. And I'm going to show you tonight just how fundamentally they are different, I think. Okay. So let's talk about PDE5 inhibitors and ED. I worked with Bayer and GlaxoSmithKline, GSK, on Levitra, vardenafil, against Pfizer's Viagra, sildenafil, and Lilly's Cialis, tadalafil. And I asked you before we start, you tell me, and when I ask you at the end, are these all the same? Is this just a bunch of pharmacologic sleight of hand? Or are they fundamentally different? Do they work differently? So, as I promised, I worked on Levitra, but let's talk about the disease state for a bit, and then we'll talk about the pharmacology. So, most men with erectile dysfunction are concentrated in that 40 to 69 age group, and whatever year you studied it, you can see the peak happens in this 50 to 60 age group, basically, with some tailing off before and after. That ED is really related to the comorbidities. Many doctors have described ED as a vasculopathy, that there's occlusion of the arteries causing ED, just as you see in heart disease. No wonder then that 40%, 36% of the time you've got hypercholesterolemia and hypertension associated with ED. Because if it is in fact a vascular disease, you would expect comorbid cardiovascular risk factors like hypertension and dyslipidemia, diabetes to some extent. That any year this was studied, and this is back when I was working on it, the majority was mild to moderate, with a very small percentage of severe disease, complete sexual dysfunction. Most of it was the mild to moderate category. And you can see the market share as I entered it. You can see that the Viagra was already on the market at the time and pretty stable, doing well. That Levitra that I worked on came up pretty fast and was pretty close by 2004 to the market leader, Viagra. And then Cialis came up pretty sharply as well, but they all entered the market roughly around the same time. And we're doing about the same business initially in the immediate post-launch marketing period. Now we're going to get into the science, the pharmacology now. So the phosphodiesterase enzymes, isoenzymes, I'm sure you've heard of them in your other courses, are ubiquitous throughout many tissues. We're interested in the corpus cavernosum of the penis, PDE5. It exists in other organ systems as well. I highlight here also the off-target effects of PDE6 in the retina because there's some interesting off-target toxicities associated with color changes mediated by off-target effects against PDE6 and other PDEs, as you see here. The primary mechanism of action of these PDE5 inhibitors is on the accumulation of the so-called cyclic guanosine monophosphate, or the second messenger. That the PDE5 inhibition causes a net accumulation of the second messenger, so it keeps the signal on. That increased accumulation of the second messenger causes a relaxation of the smooth muscle of the corpus cavernosum, increasing blood flow and erection is facilitated. This is a bit more detail of what that looks like. I'll just take you quickly through this. and the presence of excessive testosterone and nitric oxide, which is in the lumen of the blood vessels, you get this increase of the guanylate cyclase, the cyclase enzyme, the membrane-bound cyclase that converts the triphosphate GTP to the monophosphate cyclic GMP, the so-called second messenger. And it's this second messenger, the cyclic GMP, through reduced intracellular calcium, right? Calcium would be vasoconstrictive. By reducing it, you produce a net vasodilation, increased blood flow, and erection. So by inhibiting the degradative enzyme, PDE5, you cause a net increase in the second messenger. So all of the PDE5 inhibitors, whichever one you're looking at, all block the breakdown of cyclic GMP, thereby causing a net increase and therefore increased blood flow. So let's just pause there for a second, because this is an important point. So you do need to understand how these drugs work. Everybody okay with that?
Just to reiterate, so blocking PDE5 causing accumulation of CGMP, you get the erection. That's pretty much what you're saying.
Yeah, mediated by the effects of cyclic GMP on smooth muscle relaxation, vis-a-vis reducing intracellular calcium. Calcium is potentially vasoconstrictive. Reducing that causes net vasodilation, increased blood flow. But yes, the short answer is inhibiting the degradative enzyme increases the second messenger accumulation, thereby increasing blood flow and erection. Just checking the texts here. Okay. Yeah, good. So what? So I want to talk a bit about some concepts that are often misunderstood in pharmacology, frankly, and in pharmaceutical marketing. Selectivity, specificity, sensitivity, efficacy, and potency. Selectivity describes the ability of a drug to affect a certain cell population in preference to others. So it discriminates between and affects only one cell population, not others. PDE5 inhibitors work selectively in the corpus cavernosum and not the prostate or the eye. Thus, they're selective to the tissues. I think of selectivity as tissue selectivity. When I talk about off-target effects, usually that's mediated by the effects of a PDE5 inhibitor on a PDE6 in the retina, for example, and that causes some color change. So selectivity is often confused with specificity, but it's important, and you need to know this for the test. Selectivity is the tissue selectivity, whereas specificity talks about the receptor, causing a particular action in a particular receptor. Single type of receptor expressed on only a limited number of differentiated cells. Think about, beta-1 specific adrenergic receptor antagonists like atenolol versus non-specific propranolol, specificity, receptor. Absolute specificity can increase or decrease a function, one or the other, but not both. Think of atropine, which blocks cholinergic muscarinic receptors very specifically, but they're very widely distributed, thus they're not selective. So that's an example of being highly specific, the muscarinic cholinergic receptor only, but not very selective. And so you get a variety of different off-target effects, particularly dry mouth, which is we'll talk about later when we talk about the anticholinergics and overactive bladder. It'll be important for you to understand pharmacologically what mediates dry mouth is the non-selectivity of those agents, even though they're specific to their receptor. So specificity, diphenhydramine, antihistamine is neither. Antihistamine receptors are widely distributed, and they cross over with muscarinic receptors. So think of drugs in terms of their specificity and selectivity and what that might mean physiologically. And I'll come back to why that's important in this discussion, the PDE5 inhibitors. But I do need you to know the difference between selectivity and specificity. Sensitivity, I'm not that concerned about. It's usually something related to potency. I don't really care about potency because usually you can overcome it by giving a drug systemically if you have to versus orally, et cetera. So potency is often surrogate used as efficacy in vitro assays. We're going to talk about that tonight. That's okay. I don't have a problem with potency from an in vitro perspective. I do have a problem with the concept of potency, often a misused term in drug marketing. We really mean efficacy or specificity. So now we're going to transition to, those are the pharmacological concepts you need to understand for this lecture tonight. Now we're going to talk about how Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis use these concepts to differentiate themselves. And I'm going to ask you at the end, do you think they were successful? Was it compelling? So please keep that in mind. So if you look at the comparative IC50, the concentration that inhibits the PDE5 enzyme in vitro, you can see that vardenafil, right, Levitra, was tenfold more potent, if you will, in vitro than either sildenafil, Viagra, or tadalafil, Cialis. Tenfold less concentration required to inhibit the PDE5 enzyme by 50%. So that tells you something right away. And any way that was studied and published, and it was, the same thing was true. Vardenafil was the most potent in vitro PDE5 inhibitor, whether it was what I just showed you, the IC50, or the dissociation constant from the isotherm, or 1/2 of the EC50, or the KD. At every assay ever studied, it was tenfold more potent, if you will, in vitro than the other two PDE5 inhibitors. So clearly, they're not all the same, physiologically and pharmacologically. There are also some different selectivity differences, some off-target effects. The colors are always hard to see here, so I'll just kind of talk you through them. PD6 are the retina effects, and PD11 are the other target tissues. And the point of this is just to say the relationship between the off-target effect, the PDEX, called 6/5, the retina effect versus the corpus cavernosum effect, clearly is different for each of these agents. And the color, again, is difficult, so I apologize, but it looks to me like vardenafil here, I think is off on the left, is somewhat intermediate between sildenafil and tadalafil. And therefore, the most likely to cause color changes here would be in this category, the off-target effects. Let me have it reversed. Sildenafil actually is the most, it's the greater the number, the less likelihood the activity is PD off-target over PDE5. So here you see why Viagra tends to cause the most blue to green type color changes, which is one of the common side effects you see for it. As a pharmacologist, this is probably the most compelling assay, most compelling data. And I'll talk you through this as well. That when in the same assay with human corpus cavernosum tissue was incubated under physiological conditions, measuring the accumulation of the second messenger, cyclic GMP, look at the, and this is in the presence of sodium nitroprusside, the nitrate donor, so it stimulates sort of like the testosterone effect, because nitric oxide is the ultimate vasodilator in endogenous vasculature. You can see that in the presence of sodium nitroprusside, 3 nanomolar, 10 or 30 nanomolar, you get for sildenafil a plateau right here. That's the, and whereas with vardenafil, it remains fairly linear, right to 30 nanomolar. So that tells you that this is more physiologic in human corpus cavernosum tissue against accumulation of the second messenger. So a saturation effect at 30, as opposed to an ongoing accumulation of the second messenger. From a pharmacologic point of view, this is an interesting pharmacodynamic message about the mirroring, if you will, of vardenafil's effects in terms of its effects in the human corpus cavernosum tissue. Any questions before we move on to some human clinical study data? I shared with you Dose response effects, pharmacologists love to see dose response. Here we see the effect of vardenafil is dose responsive right through 30 nanomoles without being saturated. Off-target effects, pharmacokinetic dynamic effects against the receptor in vitro. So a lot of evidence about the role of vardenafil. And now we're going to show you some clinical trials that are not head-to-head because they didn't have to do it to get approval. So if you look at vardenafil in diabetes, has this, improved your sexual function in the past 4 weeks? Clearly, the answer is yes, and it's dose responsive. Again, we like to see that in the intent to treat population at 12 weeks of completers. I'll mention this to you now that you'll see data. You need to learn to read data very carefully. Does anybody have an opinion about completers versus a last observation carried forward clinical trial? What's the difference? Can somebody tell me what is a completers trial versus last observation carried forward? LOCF. So in a completers trial, that means patients went through the entire 12 weeks of the study. They must have been pretty happy to do that, right? People who drop out of a trial typically not happy with what's going on. But a study that's done with the last observation carried forward means that it takes all the patients, whether they complete it or not, and they compute those numbers into the final analysis. And if you still get a significant difference, that's more compelling to me, right? If you get a completers analysis, you've got a pretty happy patient population. They completed the study. If you get LOCF population, it's more compelling because those patients may not have completed, they didn't complete the study, you still counted those failures, and if you still got a significant difference. So this is a little bit more questionable to me, I have to tell you honestly, a completers analysis. Nonetheless, that's the way it was done. And any way you measured it, efficacy with antihypertensive medications, so patients clearly had vasculopathy and vascular disease, again, versus placebo at the 20 milligram in 2 different studies, or 2 different ways of measuring sexual function, you see clearly a drug effect, strong, significant drug effect, highly significant versus placebo. Same thing in men who've had prostate cancer and had radical prostatectomies. Often those procedures do some damage to the nerve and inhibit sexual function. And here you see, even in this tough to treat patient population, significant effect above placebo. Not dose responsive in this case, but still significant. And I think that the story that these are telling is that these are tough to treat patients. Patients with diabetes often have ED and are very tough to treat. Patients who have dyslipidemia or hypertension, tough to treat. Patients who've had prostate cancer following prostate surgery, very tough to treat. Yet we've seen a positive, not head-to-head, because they didn't have to do it, they didn't do it. And so I'd ask you students, or I'd let you know that the basic pharmacological principles are something you need to interpret for yourselves and weigh the evidence. In this case, potency, efficacy, selectivity, specificity, and whether that the mechanism of action was pulled through by that dose response curve I showed you in human corpus cavernosum tissue. PD may be open to interpretation, pharmacodynamics, mechanism of action, but it's often used in pharmaceutical marketing to create a differentiation and a reason to believe. And you'll see a lot of the pharmacodynamic MOA. Frankly, it's my passion and the area of my greatest interest is understanding a drug's mechanism of action. It's my way of learning about a therapeutic category, actually, because I'm more interested in how the drugs work than anything else. And so I'd ask you, do you think Levitra made its case as the PDE5 inhibitor with the greatest selectivity, specificity, et cetera, et cetera? Your time to talk. You're asking completed the entire trial. Yes, a completer's analysis means the patients completed the entire 12 weeks in that case. They must have been pretty happy. Why, when they take 10 mg, 37 said yes, and they took 20 mg, yeah, don't know. In the case of post-prostate surgery, these are very tough to treat patients. Yes, you should get increased dose. And the fact is, it still was an improvement, but not dose responsive, as you saw in the in vitro assay that was very clearly dose responsive. But in vitro is not the same thing as a clinical trial. It's not the real world. So you've got to measure. This is where your judgment comes in. So I'm asking you now, tell me if you think Levitra made its case, because it could have been positioned as the PDE5 inhibitor for the tough to treat patient population, which is exactly what I tried to do at the time of its launch. But tell me now, what do you think? Was it compelling? Comments?
I mean, it was really potent.
In what respect? Mustafa, you did not find it compelling? Why? What was your opinion? How come you felt that way?
Because it's a very potent drug. So its effect is not that compared to the other drugs. I don't know.
In vitro, it certainly was more potent, right?
Yes.
Tenfold more potent in vitro. But it's hard to make, what did that mean in terms of clinical data, because we don't have comparative studies. It didn't feel like it was very selective. No, I think that's fair, Simone. I think the selectivity issue was difficult. Off-target effects were there. Other comments? So I'm trying to show you in this one case how PK and PD were used to differentiate Levitra from its competitors in a complex landscape, a clinical landscape. There's not always a single simple answer. So there is no right or wrong here. It's just your opinion. I'm going to tell you in a minute what really happened, but first I'm curious to hear what you think.
Can the off-target side effects cause people to maybe not want to take it and lean towards another drug that they may feel more comfortable with, even if it's less effective?
Is that Allison speaking?
Yeah.
Yeah, mention your name when you speak, because I'm trying to learn who you are. Yes, that is definitely, I think the particularly for sildenafil, for Viagra, the blue-green color changes that men experienced was disturbing. So I think those kinds of off-target effects did help the other PDE5 inhibitors.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, it's Brian. Was that the only off-target effect that was measured?
No, there were others, but I think that was the
major one.
All of them can produce hypotension because of the vasodilatory effects. So I don't think there are any big distinctions between hypotensive side effects.
Okay.
Fainting, when orthostatic hypotension effects, when you stand up, you could fall. They all had roughly equal potential for that. But I think the color changes were some of the more concerning effects.
Got it.
Higher potency also doesn't necessarily mean higher effectiveness. That's true. Again, the challenge, and is we didn't have, and to my knowledge, don't have head-to-head data of one versus the other in the clinical setting. We only have that in vitro. Okay, and Mustafa, you mentioned the marketing strategy, and that's fair, because what I'll tell you is that despite my best efforts in the company I was working with at the time to move Bayer and GSK towards niching, if you will, Levitra to being the most potent and the tough to treat male patient population, they were afraid to over niche the drug. They didn't want to do that. And so they clearly lost the marketing battle. In fact, as you see here, Cialis became the weekender drug and Viagra the most frequently used. The challenges we had were all related to the fact that I believe that had they been willing to position themselves against the tough to treat male population, patients with heart disease, with comorbid vascular diseases, diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, smokers, but they were afraid to do that. And plus, Pfizer and Lilly was so powerful in these days, in the early 2000s, direct to consumer advertising was much bigger than it is even today. So GSK wasn't willing to commit to that tough to treat strategy. And I think they really became, as a result, a master of none. It's to me an example of you're better off having a firm piece of a smaller pie than no piece of a bigger pie. And so I don't think Levitra is even marketed for the most part in the US any longer.
So this is Rory. So do you think that Levitra not positioning themselves to be marketed towards the proper patient failed them in being able to be competitive with Viagra and Cialis in that market? Is that the reason why they lost? Because they had pretty good in vitro and vitro studies, in vivo studies, but they didn't win the market battle. Why?
Exactly.
What was the big, because of that?
I think so. It's my opinion. I can't tell you that for sure, but I was there. I worked on it in the trenches with them, and many of my colleagues feel like there was the failure to commit to what was clearly where the evidence was telling us to go. It clearly had the best data in vitro, in vivo, and they had very good clinical data in tough to treat patients, yet they were concerned about being niched. And so I find this an interesting case for that reason that you just described, that it really was in the US at least, a failed marketing campaign, despite the fact that they had the best science, in my opinion. And so the best science doesn't always rule the day in medical marketing. That's the example. Is Levitra used as a hypertension drug now? I don't think
no,
not as a antihypertensive. There may be some other clinical uses. Is it
Do you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, do you think that in the long run, because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I totally agree with you. Do you think they could have rebranded the drug and changed the name? I mean, Viacom did it. Companies do it all the time. They change their name and then they re-roll out the same marketing campaign under a different name. And, most layman people don't even know. They wouldn't know if Levitra was called Ventana, or something else. And then they put it toward a different market.
Some of the PDE5 inhibitors have been rebranded for another condition that I've worked on. It's for pulmonary arterial hypertension. Under completely different brand names because of the vasodilatory properties. But in my experience, in many years doing this kind of work, I have not found companies able or willing to do what you suggested may have been done in high tech. I think you get one shot at these, maybe because of the patent position and the huge expense of the branding and the marketing of these kind of. Somebody look up. I think Levitra may be available now. Somebody look up, is Levitra still marketing and marketed? Where is Levitra marketed? And just let us know. Memorable advertising campaigns to establish strong brand is key. Blue pill, yeah. And we're going to talk about the blue pill. We're going to talk about that in terms of some other color pills in the future too, particularly the proton pump inhibitor wars. The purple pill that moved the market for AstraZeneca as well. We'll talk about in a few months, in a few weeks. But yeah, it's so it says it was discontinued in 2021 worldwide. Is that true worldwide? Probably.
It says that the FDA moved the drug products to the discontinued drug product list in the
But
US.
they're still being manufactured, right?
It's still available as vardenafil generically, maybe by some small generic house.
Yeah, because I'm seeing on GoodRx that you could still get it like at a Walmart or a Stop and Shop or a CVS.
As a generic. cheaper.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But they could have had so much more, in my opinion. That's not, look, GSK and Bayer are powerhouse companies. They're very successful. These are very smart people. But it's, you know, it's difficult to make these decisions based upon limited data and often not head to head. So we're going to talk about the pharmacological key points of differentiation in this course. And you're going to see how they worked and didn't work. I'm going to show you some cases where it worked beautifully, other cases where it didn't work at all. Sometimes the differentiation isn't based upon the pharmacology as much as it is the way the information is portrayed. We're going to talk about the COX-2 specific inhibitors, Vioxx versus Celebrex, and how that worked itself out. So, and again, I mean, somebody mentioned at the beginning when they introduced themselves, you know, the market sizes are enormous. We're talking about billion-dollar brands here. And it's hard to get your, so this just shows you how at the time, Levitra wasn't cutting it, wasn't getting the job done. And we do have to talk about the ethics and the ethical challenges. And what does it mean to market a pharmacological concept that's for healthcare, for our health? Are these principles valid? Or is it good or bad science? I need you to think about these things from a medical marketing approach. When you introduce a compound, is it cost effective? Are there long-term safety issues? You remember, clinical trials, often companies do long-term clinical studies, but they get approved based upon being put into a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand people. You put a drug into millions of people, you're going to see things you never saw in the phase 3 trials, even if they're multi-center and randomized. And ultimately, who's responsible for educating doctors about these things? Once you leave graduate school, dental school, medical school, who's paying for this stuff? I talk to doctors all the time about things they've never studied. Immuno-oncology, gene therapies. So industry has a huge role to play. And, you know, you think about the size of the pharmaceutical industry, we're talking about oil and gas level money, you know, international steel. The Hollywood is sometimes compared, but what's the biggest movie of all times? You know, maybe made $1 billion or $2. Some of the biggest movie. What's the biggest movie, like Titanic or something like more recent? A couple of $1 billion in its entire lifetime worldwide. Over 10
Avengers?
What's that?
Avengers Infinity War?
Yeah, any of these movies. We're talking about products in this course that make a drug like the statins for cholesterol make 10 billion or more dollars, 15 billion, 20 billion every year, year in, year out. So these are blockbuster drugs that have huge implications for ethics and for marketing. So just putting into the context of the size of this industry and the kind of money we're talking about, it's important to think about because it does have an impact.
Hi, it's Allison again. I was just curious if the sales reps that go to like the doctor's offices to sell these types of drugs to them or market it to them, do they have to take any kind of course or have any kind of certification or know anything specifically about what they're marketing to these offices?
The sales reps, and then there's also called MSLs, medical science liaisons, are highly trained. Often they're PharmDs.
Okay.
I find the pharmaceutical industry loves the PharmD degree. For those of you interested in becoming pharmaceutical folks, if you're not going to go to medical or dental school, you're not interested in research per se, don't get a PhD. It's a research degree. Get a PharmD, go work in industry. They love it. But yeah, they're pretty well trained and regulated. It's a high, and you'll see some of the fines that they'll levied against some of these big companies are in the tens of millions of dollars when they get on the wrong side of that regulatory. So the co-promotion rights are returned to Bayer, the originator in many markets outside the US. Perfect. Sells it of the names. I've never seen direct head-to-head studies, at least not the time that I worked on this. Avatar, yeah. How much money did Avatar make in his whole lifetime? A couple of billion?
2.9.
That's a slow year for most of the drugs we're going to talk about. 1 year. And these drugs may have 8-10 years of patent exclusivity before they run out. We'll talk about Ozempic at another time. And that's the size of the US market, 1.5 trillion. Yeah, big business. Okay, students, anything else? I think you'll see the routine for each of these lectures will be about the same. We'll jump right into the science, pharmacology, the disease state, the points of differentiation, and then how it was applied. And then we'll have these discussions throughout, and many things will come up. But I think we'll address many of the issues you raised and I'm curious about in the real world. So thank you for your time. Again, these are all recorded. The slides are on the Canvas for your use. If you want to reach me, you have my Rutgers email, or just reach me on the Canvas, mail. Appreciate your time and attention, and it's a pleasure. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.